Welcome back. We are us, and this is the Forgotten City. Last episode, we found out that Dooley is in fact a detriment, and he needs to remain in prison for as long as the Golden Rule is in place. Speaking of which,
Don't believe a word they tell you.
we're nearing the end of the game in that we now have all of the plaques necessary to open Pluto, technically Hades, technically several other names, to open this temple right here in front, well, that we're looking at. But first, I want to show you guys something interesting. If you were to take this at any point, at least as long as WeArEuS is actually here, then you get this.
I saw you slide down that rope before. Very impressive. And strange, too, since that device you used is exactly the same as one I've been working on for weeks. Oh, of course. It's because I already gave it to you in a previous time loop, isn't it? Anyway, I'm sorry to ask, but is there any chance you'd be willing to do me a favor?
What do you need, my good sir?
Well, I've been trying to get this rare flower from the rock spire in the middle of the lake. It's too steep to climb, so I hung a rope over the lake and made this pulley device, only I couldn't quite summon the nerve to use it. Do you think you could use the device again and try to get that flower for me?
I already have an identical flower.
Really? You already have it? I picked it up in a previous loop, I suppose. It's gonna take me a while to get my head around that. This is going to make her so happy. Equitia, I mean. Now I just have to figure out how to give it to her. What I really want to do is walk up to her, give her the flower, and confess I've been madly in love with her since the moment we met. But on the other hand, I can't shake the feeling that the consequences could be terrible.
I'll go ahead and allow him to explain. Had there been an option to not have him say it or explain it, I would have done it just so we could move this along. But what's the worst that could happen?
You mean, aside from her execution? You see, Equitia is a Vestal priestess, meaning she's taken a vow of chastity, the breaking of which would be an extremely serious affront to the gods and a capital offense. Even if she was just suspected of being unchaste, it could lead to her execution. Unchaste Vestals get buried alive. Oh, and I'd get flogged to death for good measure. But at the same time, she's just so kind and graceful, and I feel so much love for her that if I don't tell her, it'll burn a hole in my chest. I don't know what to do. What do you think? What would you do?
Not once have I bothered to choose any of these others. Obviously, this is just a no-no. Tell her how you feel, my good man.
Now that I hear you say that out loud, I hear how crazy it is.
Yeah.
I think maybe I need to be a bit more cautious. What I need is a go-between. Someone who can tell her how I feel, and find out how she feels, without risking her life. What do you say? Do you think you could help me one more time?
For you, my good man, I think I can manage one more favor.
Wonderful! Now, all I need you to do is give her the flower and tell her it's from a secret admirer. Tell her I'll keep my distance and that I just want her to know that she's loved.
I'll do it.
Thank you. Come back as quick as you can and tell me what she says.
I think the fastest way would be for me to oh, well, I could just take this path here. I don't have to jump in the water at all. Yay! I'm kind of sad that OBS is the one causing me the frame rate trouble. The game plays decently if OBS is not recording. So I'm a little sad about that.
Salve again. Did you find what you need?
Someone wanted me to give you this flower.
Oh, how lovely. It just happens to be my favorite, too. Who do I have to thank for this?
I'm supposed to tell you it's from your secret admirer, and that they'll keep their distance. They just want you to know you're loved.
I see. So, it's from WeArEuS, then?
So you know.
Of course I do. I think everyone in the city knows. That man is a wonderful human being, and my favorite person in the world. But he is the least subtle secret admirer you could imagine. The way he looks at me with those puppy dog eyes. Plus, he's been trying for weeks to get his hands on this flower. He went to so much effort, too. Suspending that rope above the lake, inventing that pulley device all on his own. He'd just stand there each morning, looking at the flower, trying to summon the courage to seize it. Oh, my heart.
So what should I tell him?
Tell that adorable oaf that my Vestal's vow of chastity ends once I turn 36. So if we ever make it out of here, and he doesn't mind waiting a few years, then tell him I love him too.
I think he'll be happy to hear that.
I hope so. See you again soon.
Don't believe a word they tell you.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that information. So I'm just going to pretend that you are the they that you're talking about.
Salve again, my Sisyphean friend. Now, what's on your mind?
I delivered that flower to Equitia for you.
Thanks. What did she say?
She knew it was from you, you know. But she asked me to tell you that once she turns 36, she's allowed to marry, and that she loves you too.
Venus, that is the best news I've ever heard in my life. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You have no idea how happy you've made me. I wish there was something I could do to thank you properly, but I don't have much to offer you.
Don't worry about it.
All I can do is tell you where there's a secret stash of coins you might be interested in.
I'm listening.
In the rock tunnel, near the stairs, there's a little doorway set into the rock. Inside, if you look carefully, you can see a chest. Unfortunately, one of those golden huntress statues is blocking the path. I'm not game to move it. If you can figure out how to get past it, I reckon there might be a small fortune waiting for you. I hope that helps in some way.
It does not, because I have tried everything I can think of
All right, friend.
to get past her into that room. I spent literal hours wandering this city, doing everything I could to find a way around Dooley's idiocy and how to get that chest that's, around there somewhere, past the door. I can't figure it out. So, be that as it may, I don't actually need the money, though I am curious to see what is in that room itself. But I can't think of a single way to actually get around the statue and into it. Okay, maybe I'll do a little bit of looking around. That leads up to the area where they were voting. I'm just going to make this quick because I want this to be the last episode, because frankly I hate recording it because of how it performs. Also, that basically says that WeArEuS loves Scintilla, but somebody, vandalized his vandalization and changed loves to killed. I have checked every inch of this place that I can think of, and I have not been able to find any way to get into that room. I've seen some things, but I haven't been able to get into the room, and it makes me sad. So now we head up to Hades' place, and we replace the plaques that were removed by idiots, really.
Citizen.
The issue is I really can't think of a way to this. There was one interaction we had with Dooley where there was an option to offer to break him out. Naturally, I didn't take it, but what if taking it set me on a path to actually get the key? What was I thinking? What if taking it set me on the path to... Alright, there's something over here too. Chest. Right. I don't think... To survive, we must all be kind. Corrected to, we must all be wise. Corrected to, we must all be obedient. And finally, corrected to, we must all be...
I hope you're coping.
So, I will tell you that I spoke to Scintilla and, well, to be frank, ran away with her. That was one ending. I did some other things and got I already know what that says. I will say there is an ending you can get if you can free everyone, that's in trouble. And then when you first come through from a fresh loop, I should say, when you speak to Galerius, you can have him ready everyone up, and all of the people that you can help, who will feel indebted to you, I suppose you could say, you'll have him gather them up and you can escape with them. Of course, there are other things you need to keep in mind because it's not as cut and dried as you would think it is. But I'm not going to spoil that for you. I came pretty close to saying too much as it is. I have tried thinking my way around this problem as much as possible. But the only thing that seems to be the possible solution, the neatest solution to get everyone out of here that matters, is to talk to Hades. And if we must, so we shall. What was the oldest one? Pluto is the current one. Hades was the previous one. Osiris is the Egyptian one. So let's call him Osiris. Lord of Silence. Grant me an audience. Oh, I guess we go with all of the names then, huh? Pluto, Father of Riches. Grant me an audience. Oh, so he goes by Pluto today? So that last rumble was just him catching an attitude. The guy's 5 years. He's like a 5-year-old. Wait. So we have to go through all of the names in order. That's what's going on. Wait. I hear footsteps in water on the other side of this. I actually can't back out of this, so we have to go forward. I wasn't expecting to have to shoot anything. That's my fault, huh? Hades, Lord of Many, grant me an audience. I mean, I'm not imagining this, right? Yeah, so this next one we call him Osiris. Well, my logic at the very first door wasn't necessarily flawed, but what the frick is she wearing? I know the name for those kinds of things, but can't really. No, not tights. Osiris, Lord of Silence, grant me an audience. And naturally, for the next one, we call him Nurgle. Nurgle, the Fierce One, grant me an audience. You see...
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names. Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the Greeks, and Pluto to the Romans. But the one constant through it all has been my title, God of the Underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You're unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so gracefully that there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity. Ask what you will.
What is this place?
It has come to be known simply as the Underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago.
What was the wager you made?
That is a long story, one that began over 3,000 years ago and continues to this day. You see, long ago my kin and I set out from our home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves, your 2 short lives being extinguished by violence and ignorance and disease. Yet Proserpina saw raw potential in you and persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Sumer. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough, and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty. But my Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind. And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation in a deep frozen sleep to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring her with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him that he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind, the last of my kind, to watch over you without interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my goddess of springtime. And here I am, after all this time, still waiting.
Well, we may as well go ahead and ask all of these questions, huh? First off, who are your kin?
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader, Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina.
So who built the city?
As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build a city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths, to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives, and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before, and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive, and then the Romans, and they all did the same thing. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their foundations were forgotten.
So how did you decide who comes here?
To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from silver, a
That would
rare
be
element
Kara.
at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, they would come to be known as Charon's obol, or as coins for the ferryman. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the original tokens. In fact, almost all of the tokens are accounted for. Only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Persepolis along with it.
Well, that explains that one ending. Okay. But how did humans even learn about the underworld?
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was the king of Sumer, and a troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people, on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely, and he told stories of this place as if describing memories of a dream. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh. His words were twisted and distorted over generations. Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld, making them wildly intricate and labyrinthine. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place, in their priests' pursuit of profit. Then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning, and in a series of incidents that will not be repeated, 5 of them escaped. A warrior named Heracles, 2 kings named Sisyphus and Theseus, a poet named Orpheus, and a Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and how to escape. And so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome, your kind has always told each other stories about this place, though each story contained only a seed of truth. Of course.
Yeah, we may as well ask him what his particular story is.
My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know?
The one on the left is Charon. That's what I'm betting. So we'll just go ahead and go through all of them. You're a god?
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself. Your ancestors revered me because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that, there are rules even I must obey.
You would think this would be covered by this, or the responses given after choosing this, but why do you look and sound like a man?
My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind.
Oh,
In time, we grew fond of the sensory delights it affords: desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
so can I see what you looked like in your birthday suit?
No. Long ago, I swore to Priscilla that I would remain in this form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
Hey, I respect that. So, who is the woman on on your left?
This is my beloved. Like me, she has been known by many names. Ereshkigal to the Sumerians, Isis to the Egyptians, Persephone to the Greeks, and Persephone to the Romans. Or perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal.
Understood.
Your gaze lingers too long.
Who is that on your right?
That is my servant. You would have met by the river, though she wears many faces and goes by many names. Kumutabal to the Sumerians, Kurti to the Egyptians, Charon to the Greeks, and Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless as possible. For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferryman. You will talk more later. For now, ask your questions. As you will.
Well, we know he's responsible for the Golden Rule, but we want to be thorough here, so are you responsible for the Golden Rule?
That is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
Why turn people into gold?
That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building their city, the self-declared ruler threw a banquet to celebrate. Now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife, a prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, two were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the banquet wearing eye-catching dresses and painted faces, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold, and when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands. While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place.
I see.
She checked that nobody was watching, pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe in a layer of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin in my domain. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all, to make way for a new wave, and began the wager again. And to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, inanimate but conscious, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind for eternity, as silent golden sentinels.
Kind of a dick move, but also reasonable. It's weird. So what do you consider a sin?
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added, treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it. Curious, is it not?
I don't know what this is supposed to be talking about. He hasn't done anything I can think of. He hasn't done any stealing. He hasn't killed anyone. He hasn't stolen anything. So we're going to have to go with this one. That principle is not as easy to apply as it sounds.
For you, perhaps.
And frankly, this doesn't seem like the right thing to choose because, granted, he has turned a lot of idiots to gold, but... And true, a lot of the ones that have been turned to gold actually did nothing wrong, and some of those might have actually never done anything wrong. And of course, all of these people are already dead, so there is that. So, where did these golden bows come from?
When my kin departed, they left behind many relics, which I inherited. A consolation prize of sorts. The golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
So how do you know when people sin?
I'm able to commune with all the statues in the city. Their ears are my ears, and their eyes are my eyes.
Is Proserpina connected to the statues in the same way? I would never have asked this or even proposed to ask this. This is dumb. This is really dumb. And there's no way for me to get out of it. So here we go. Is Proserpina connected to the statues in the same way? He asked like an idiot.
If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not. Why do you ask?
I was just asking.
Then what an odd question.
I know, I do that sometimes. But I've seen some terrible things here that you didn't consider a sin. How could you let that happen?
Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
Suicide, for one.
I've seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done to others, however they may be affected by it. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
Fair enough.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
A scam.
Ah, the tavern keeper, yes. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want someone else to sell her hemlock if she thought she was buying a means of escape.
I disagree. Having watched that tavern keeper, that is precisely what she would expect from others. She would view it as a game, one she intends to win.
Except you're just speculating.
Applying this rule always requires speculation to some degree. It requires us to ask what another person would want if they found themselves in another situation.
But that makes it inherently subjective and unreliable.
Not if we're wise enough to know the mind of man.
And you think you know the minds of other people.
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
This doesn't get us what we want, so I'm going to drop it. This time. I may come back later after I'm done recording and see what happens if I go through with this, but for now, I'm going to relent. Never mind.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I've overlooked?
Debt bondage, for one.
You speak of the moneylender. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
He wouldn't want to be trapped in a 30-year labor contract because of a loan.
And he would never have signed a contract pledging his labor for 30 years. All he did was enforce the terms of a contract signed voluntarily by others.
The sad part is that he's right. He's absolutely right. I have to keep in mind that I'm trying to get everyone out of here alive that matters. That does not include Malleolus or... not Malleolus. Quinctius, as he really is, and what's his face? Sentius, right? Pretty sure that's his name. Yeah. So I'd like to avoid pissing this guy off and having him turn everyone to gold. There are statues in this room as well, so that would include me. But I believe the entire idea is that we're presenting these sins, well, these incidents to him as him overlooking sins and seems like I've forgotten the plot of what we're actually trying to get him to do, which is release or abolish the golden rule. I think I see what the point here is. The point here would most likely be that we're trying to prove to him that the golden rule itself is completely worthless if people can find ways around it. I think that's the point here. And keeping that in mind, I'm trying to balance what I'm intending to do with what path I may need to take to accomplish that end. Because, frankly, I would prefer not to have to fight this guy. Who knows what sort of glowing-eyed weirdness he's capable of. Also, he has no idea how it is we came to possess Diana's bow. But that's probably because we come from another loop anyway. And I have to be perfectly honest, the way things currently stand. As it is, they could survive a year without sin. They could. But that's just the people who are here now. Anyone that comes after may end up breaking that rule, or breaking the rule in some fashion, dooming them all and screwing up all of our hard work. But to the question at hand, or topic at hand more accurately, I don't see how this is relevant. Fair enough then.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
How about the experiments on the golden statues?
The midwife and the palace, yes. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want to be experimented upon if she was gilded.
The rule is do unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now. Bloodless shadows, mere shapes of their former selves. They are forsaken. What happens to them is no concern of mine.
See, this is the one I have an issue with. He said they're all still alive under the gold. They can all still see and hear everything that's going on. But he's willfully ignoring the fact that she is peeling the gold and flesh from these still living people. But once again, I remind myself that our goal here is to get him to abolish the rule. One of the possible paths to accomplishing it being that we could prove to him that people will find a way around that rule regardless of its implementation or how strict it may be. People will find a way around it. But of course, that also leads to the possibility of him realizing that he just can't win the wager. And like he said, there are only two ovals out, or two more, yeah, let's just call them ovals, two more of them out there. So he's running out of opportunities to win the wager. He's effectively been trying the same thing for 3,000 years and has seen it hasn't worked. But of course, that it all started with the Sumerians. I can't really see what objective this would be trying to accomplish, aside from antagonizing the guy. I want to limit my antagonizing because he's already really upset that I have Diana's bow. Okay then.
Now tell me, what...
How about abduction?
Abduction? You mean the magistrate imprisoning his daughter in the cistern, I take it?
Yeah.
He did so because she sought to escape. A sin I take particularly seriously. Better that he stops her from escaping, albeit brutishly, than I have to wipe out this entire city to punish her. Wouldn't you agree?
I have to say I don't exactly disagree with him. At least from where I'm standing. Which is at the position of someone attempting to save everyone who matters.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe?
I mean, think about it like this. I'm currently not trying to save everyone. I'm trying to save people I've considered to matter. Which even despite the way he is, includes Dacius, and despite how horrible a person she is, includes Aurelia. If she doesn't make it, I'm not going to be sad. If Dacius doesn't make it, I'm not going to bat an eyelash, but I am at least trying to save them. Now, Quinctius and Sentius, however, they could fall off the face of the planet and I wouldn't care. Those two are terrible human beings. Just the absolute worst example of what humanity is capable of. But I digress. It's no wonder people say the gods are cruel. This just shows how unreliable and subjective your moral code is. You're no better at judging right from wrong than any person, any human is.
Do you honestly think you could do better?
Not even in the slightest. But that's my point. Nobody's grasp of right and wrong is so perfect they can be trusted with all this power. In assuming a human form and being granted all of the benefits from all ranges of emotion, you become a tyrant.
I should strike you down for that.
And if you did, you'd be proving my point.
Now, did you have any other questions before your reckoning?
I'm just not going to say this. It probably won't, upset him any more than he is already upset. But fine, let's see what it says. So, I don't want to do it. No, I'm going to think better of it.
Very well.
And that's it for our questions, apparently. So, let's do this.
Good. Then now it is time for your reckoning. Only, it seems, something is wrong. It has long been within my power to see into the hearts of mortals and weigh their deeds in life. But when I peer into you, I see only a blank slate, as if you did not exist until you appeared in this city. How is this possible? Charon, where did you find this one?
I do not remember ferrying you. How did you come here?
I'm from the future.
If that is true, then I sense the intervention of someone powerful.
How did you come to be in this time, mortal? Who brought you here?
He cannot know.
I was hoping you could tell me.
I do not know. My kin departed long ago, and Proserpine has slumbered for 3,000 years.
Shouldn't you know this as the god of the underworld?
Tread lightly, mortal. Enough of this. It seems I will need to put your reckoning on hold for now. And answer this. Why have you come here? What is it you seek?
What I seek is very simple and asking, given everything we know now, asking a lot of you. But I'd like you to put an end to the golden rule.
Your hubris is amusing, so I will allow you to make your case. But I warn you, if you anger me or waste my time with lies or wrong-headed arguments, you face death here. So, tell me, why should I put an end to the so-called golden rule?
I am not sure what to go with here. The first one seems like it would be stupid. At the very least, we cannot tell him of her role in this, and we should avoid mentioning her in any capacity. So that leaves only these other two. And he already knows he's down to the last two ogles, so whoever comes next is basically it for his little wager. We might not get this the first time, because I see these two branching in very different ways. But I also believe we should avoid using emotional arguments. Neither of these seems, at least counts to me as emotional, so let's go ahead and go with this one.
How so? And be specific. You've made a grave allegation, and I expect you to back it up.
WeArEuS has become so paranoid that he's jumping at shadows like Virgil's sexuality. Oh yeah, so we can go with all of these then, since they're acting as the examples for our allegation, as he calls it.
He is a volatile and confused fellow, that one.
Aurelia is exploiting people's desperation to escape by selling them hemlock.
I admit, I have grown disturbed watching that.
grown disturbed, okay. He wasn't disturbed in the beginning, just he's grown disturbed. What about Malleolus, who's trapped people in debt bondage by convincing them that rebelling would break your law?
His cruelty does seem to grow greater by the day. Pathetic. You will need to do a lot better than that.
Let me think. There aren't... Corruption, huh? There's one other argument that follows as a result of a very specific ending you can get. But I don't know if I don't know if you can even make that argument without starting out as a brand new character, or if you can even utilize that argument at all. But how can you expect us to live without sin if you can't do it yourself?
That is a very serious accusation, mortal. What sin have I committed? What evidence do you have to support it?
Didn't you abduct Proserpina? Jeez, that name. Because it's really close to Persephone, and I'm just like, why didn't you just leave it? Proserpina sounds stupid. This one. You've given terrible punishments to hundreds of people, some for minor sins and some who committed no sins at all.
Every one of those people was guilty of failing to ensure their peers lived virtuously. They failed collectively, and so they were punished collectively. The Romans understand this, as did the Greeks before them.
If our positions were reversed, you wouldn't want me to punish you for the sins of other people.
Ah, but I am a god, and you are a mortal. Why would you expect me to treat you as I treat my own kind? You are not a peer. You are not a respected equal. Let me ask you this. Do you treat insects as you wish to be treated? Do you care for their well-being as you would your fellow man? Do you ensure they have food and shelter and protection from predators? Do you give them rights?
I mean, certain, like probably the ones that are going extinct, maybe. However, everything he just said proves why he'll never win the wager. He's so blind to his own relative position, the difference between himself and humanity, the distance between himself and humanity, who he's technically only trying to save because he wants to save Proserpina, that there's no way he's going to win. He sees himself as being so far above that it blinds him to just the simplest of things. The question that we're presented with right now, though, is do we lie to him? Which would be, frankly, stupid. Lying about this in particular would be stupid. I could see a case for lying here, but I don't know what they've actually got beyond that option. We might be here for a while, ladies and gentlemen. But we will see this through this episode. However long it may end up going. Hopefully not too long. Editing anything over 3 hours is a pain. So, we're going to go with no this time.
Of course not, because that would be absurd, just as it would be absurd for me to treat your kind as equals.
And what exactly I would say this sounds like it could be a good one, but one, it counts as an emotional appeal, which is probably not going to win the day here. Two, he probably doesn't see it as him having been in love with a human all this time, but as an Elysian who became human. I'm curious how many Elysians there actually are. Because I asked myself a question just now. How long did it take for them to become what they are now? Where they supposedly are living in beauty and absolute splendor, unspoiled by violence and other silliness. How long did it take for them to become what they, well, not the human form part, but what they are now? How long did it take for them to get where they are? So the second option seems like it could be good. We'll do it. So what makes your kind superior to mine?
Where to begin? Our lifespans exceed yours by thousands of years.
Completely irrelevant.
Each time we accumulate vast wisdom and a mastery of technology you cannot begin to imagine.
And yeah, this is a little threatening, but it's very good information. He can be taken down. I just prefer that he not be. Because if I have to resort to violence, that means we've failed. Diplomacy has failed, basically. Yeah, I have to go with this one because the second one is too close to being a threat. But why does wisdom and technology make you superior?
Because that is the source of our power over you.
So you think you're not obliged to treat us fairly because you're more powerful than us?
You could say that.
What was it the Roman Stoics said? Treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you?
My kin have no superiors.
But didn't you say Jupiter was your leader? There's a hierarchy within your kin then.
That is true. Go on.
So are you treating humans the way you would wish Jupiter to treat you?
Make your point, mortal.
I'm saying, if you can't follow your own rule, how can you expect humans to?
Let me ponder that for a moment. If you are right, then it would follow that all this time I have been in the wrong. But no, the very thought of it grieves me.
As it
How can I accept
As it
your
happens.
argument when doing so would make me a tyrant and a monster?
You're not a monster. You're a human and you made a mistake.
Wait, what? What are you saying?
Humans make mistakes. It happens.
You have spoken eloquently, and yet, if what you say is true, it follows that my wager was fatally flawed from the beginning.
Basically.
But that would mean Jupiter, Preservator's father, who knew more about you than anyone, proposed a wager I could never win. Why would he do that?
That is the question. Antagonistic. Probably best not to mention Proserpina in any fashion. And if they all assumed human forms, we can then just assume that he possibly made a mistake as well. Remember how Kabosh reacted when we proposed that the people he looked up to, the priests and such. Remember how he reacted when we even suggested that they could have been knowingly in the wrong. and have been espousing exaggerated tales adopted from previous civilizations. He was very unhappy about that, and he fought us, and we loaded. The second option seems okay, like it won't lead to anything involving revealing Proserpina's role up to now, but I really think we should avoid mentioning her in any capacity. But wouldn't it stand to reason that he made a mistake too?
A mistake? But he is the best and greatest of us.
Perhaps when you took human form, you took on human foibles as well.
Your words sting me, mortal. But perhaps it is what I deserve. As difficult as this is to admit, I have suspected as much for a long time now. And I cannot deny it any longer. I've been so fixated on taking my beloved to Elysium that every time one of you sinned, it wore away my hope of being with her again. In time, I began to despise your kind for making her believe that you could ever be better than you are.
Yeah,
But
I get
my
it.
rage
I
was
get
not
it.
born of malice. Quite the opposite. Everything I have done, I did because I loved her. Who knew this empathy of yours, which you celebrate so much, could have such a dark underside? This has gone on too long. It is time for me to let go of this form, of her, of all of you. But know this, if I abandon the wager and leave for Elysium, neither she nor your kind may ever ascend.
Well, we already know what the answer here would be. I'm trying to predict what path the second option might take. But for one thing, we cannot even if it became an option somehow, we could not allow this man to take Malleolus and Sentius. Heck, taking Aurelia would be very risky. Very risky. I wonder if there's a way to actually... I wonder if that's one of the possible endings where you could actually get everyone to Elysium. But for now, we just want to return to the world.
Very well. I will have Charon make arrangements to ferry the others. But as for you, be aware you will be separated from the rest.
Why?
Once this exodus begins, the events that brought you to this moment will never have taken place, and you will have created a paradox. What will become of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering in the natural flow of time. Now, are you ready?
Let's do this.
Farewell, mortal.
Oh. Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fray. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Al Worth? I came in here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Milas.
Oh, did that lady in the forest send you in here after me? I guess I lost track of time, learning about the history of this place, and it is extraordinary. I'm fairly certain you and I are the first people to set foot in this city for about 2,000 years. Fortunately for us, the last person in here was a Roman man named WeArEuS, who inscribed an account into a tablet. Apparently, there was a community of 20-something people trapped in here, and living in fear of a curse they called the Golden Rule. They believed that if even one person sinned, an unknown god would cast them all into gold, like the 1,000 people who'd lived here before them. Then, one day, just as WeArEuS had finished praying for a good harvest at the shrine of Proserpina, an oracle appeared and told him how to solve the ills of the city, like saving the life of a dying woman, preventing the suicide of a man in debt bondage, freeing a falsely accused prisoner, foiling an assassination attempt, and so on. Meanwhile, the oracle walked up to the temple of the mysterious god, this one right here, and demanded an audience. And the doors just opened up to him. Nobody knows what went on in there, but WeArEuS wrote the oracle must have been more persuasive than Odysseus, because the next thing he knew, the ground shook and the voice of that god rang out over the city. The many have suffered long enough. Unfortunately, WeArEuS' account just sort of stops after that, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. What became of him and the other people who lived here? What happened to all the golden statues? And did this mysterious oracle single-handedly undo the curse that had terrorized people for hundreds of years?
Sounds a bit far-fetched if you ask me.
I don't know, it reads like an earnest account to me. Anyway, I think I found a way out through the aqueduct that brought water into the city. Follow me.
I'm right behind you. Oh. We like to see that.
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else has ever lured into this temple.
Very good idea.
You go on ahead. I'll be there soon.
You're back! But you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
I found him all right, but he'll be here in a moment.
Oh, what a relief. Thank you so much. I was beginning to think you'd both become trapped in there. Why don't you tell me what you discovered while we wait?
I discovered you're not who you said you were. I remember meeting you 2,000 years ago.
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
Who are you really?
You can just call me Charon, if you like. I am sorry I was not completely honest with you when we first met. I do not enjoy deceiving people. Believe me, I do not. But I have learned. from 5,000 years of experience. That most people find comfort in familiarity, in gradual change, and coming to see the truth in their own time.
The truth being,
That you died, of course. You were dead when I brought you here. My role, as the servant of the god of the underworld, has always been to assist the chosen to cross the threshold from the land of the living to the land of the dead.
and how exactly did I die?
Usually, when people do not remember how they died, it is because they suffered a terrible trauma. Most souls would rather not remember. Ask yourself honestly, do you really want to know?
Of course.
As you wish. You were murdered. You made a purchase in a marketplace, and the change you received was, by mistake, a single silver coin of ancient origin. You were seen inspecting it, and soon after, you were set upon by 2 thieves. The shopkeeper who had given you the coin saw the scuffle break out and leapt to your aid. You both fought bravely, but your assailants were armed, and you were not. There was nothing you or your ally could have done. He died instantly at the scene, and you followed a few hours later. That man's name was Al Worth. You were each in possession of a sacred coin, called Karen's Opal by some, and so it was my duty to bring you here.
Pluto said the coins Al and I had were the last in existence. What does that mean for you?
It means I am now bereft of purpose. There is nobody else to ferry here, nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
Yeah, may as well ask. What's so special about these coins?
Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans burying their dead with a coin in their mouths to pay the ferryman for passage across the river. Well, those stories contained a seed of truth, but not any coin would do. A long time ago, my master created 1,000 silver coins and had me distribute them across the world. My orders were simple. Whenever a person died in possession of a coin, I was to locate them and ferry them here.
Yes, Pluto mentioned that my coin was the last in existence. We know what this means for you, but I can't avoid tacking that extra question on. Anyway.
It means I am now bereft of purpose. There is nobody else to ferry.
So, can we go now?
I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing. That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an oracle who confronted a god and undid an ancient curse.
Sounds like quite a story. And I look forward to hearing all about it. But you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Very much so.
Hey, you made it. It's great to see you again. After everything you've been through, I thought you might appreciate some good news. So after we got back to the real world, I started doing some research into the people mentioned in WeArEuS' tablet, and I found something strange. I'm sorry I've been so cryptic. I've been dying to tell you, I just really wanted you to see this for yourself. Why don't you head on down there? I'll catch up with you at the other end.
Oh, there he is.
It's you.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
You're finally here. Remember me?
WeArEuS, what are you doing here?
It's a crazy story. After you disappeared, Karen appeared and told us she was returning us to the world. Even gave us some coins to help us start our lives over. Only, for some reason, she returned us to your world instead of ours. Anyway, I know we only ever had that one conversation, and I wasn't even sure if you'd remember me, but I wanted to say thanks for freeing us from the underworld and giving us a second chance at life.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
Oh, I used Karen's gift to buy a farm in Umbria. Got a villa on it too, with enough room for Dooley, of course.
Good man.
It's hard work, but I sleep soundly every night. I'm finally my own man, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
So you're at the Equitia now.
I know. I can't believe my luck either. But we're engaged and living together. We're planning to get married next spring. If you're going to be around, we'd love to see you there.
You know what? Count me in. I need to mark that down on my quest tab too. It was good to see you again, WeArEuS.
Of course. There's a whole museum full of people waiting for a chance to thank you. So you better keep moving. We'll speak again soon, my friend.
I have to admit, I did not see this coming. Not at all.
You're here. It's so wonderful to see you again.
Good to see you too, Equitia. Equitia, jeez.
So, you're the hero who somehow vanquished the last of the Roman gods. As I'm a priestess, you realize you've put me out of work. I'm just teasing. Actually, and it still feels a little sacrilegious to say this, I'm finding life after religion quite enjoyable.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
WeArEuS and I are engaged and expecting. We've just bought a lovely villa in the countryside with room for a large family, and Dooley too, of course.
Naturally.
It feels like the world has just opened up for us. There's so much to learn, and so many more possibilities for our children than we ever imagined. We're just so thankful for what you did for us, for all of us.
How's Livia? Keep in mind, everyone, that every time, after learning the truth about the underworld, every time we restarted a loop, we would set her free of her delusion and let her know that she was, in fact, sane and right about what she had figured out.
Oh, it's sweet of you to ask. She recovered nicely. In fact, she's here somewhere, if you'd like to ask her yourself.
I'll do that. It was good to see you again, Equitia.
See you at the wedding, I hope.
I wonder what would have happened if I had skipped returning or helping her recover her sanity. Hey there, Dooley, my boy.
Hello, I'm Dooley.
I remember who you are, Dooley.
WeArEuS said you're very nice and a big helper. Thank you for getting us out of the bad place. I didn't like it.
I'm sorry you never found your treasure, though.
Treasure? Oh, I forgot about that. I like my box now. WeArEuS got me a box that tells stories. It's my favourite thing.
Story boxes are great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're fun.
It's good to see you again, Dooley.
Bye-bye.
You're the Oracle, right?
Milas is fine.
Oh, of course, sorry. And I never got a chance to thank you for telling WeArEuS how to save my life. And of course, getting me and all of us out of a terrible situation.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
Oh, I barely recognize myself. I'm living in a house share in London with my wonderful girlfriend. And I'm studying English at university. Eventually, I want to travel the world and write about it. Turns out, it's about 30 times bigger than the Roman Empire ever was. Did you know there are entire continents Rome never knew existed? And you can travel almost anywhere in an aircraft, which is rather like flying on a Pegasus, but much more comfortable. Oh, sorry, you already know all that, of course. I'm just so excited. There's so much to see and learn and write about.
Seeing the world through fresh eyes sounds wonderful.
I have noticed people from your time have no idea how fortunate they are. I hope to change that. One day.
Whatever happened to Malleolus and Claudia?
Last I heard, Malleolus kept insisting he was the last rightful ruler of the Roman Empire, and wound up being committed to a psychiatric hospital. As for Claudia, she was always so viciously unhappy. Someone said she'd blown all her money on wine, trying to drink herself back to the underworld. After the horrific way they treated Ulpius and me, I can't help feeling a sense of... what's that German word? Schadenfreude?
I think you're allowed to feel that way.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Whatever happened to Aurelia?
Ugh. Someone told me she was boasting about getting her claws into some rich prince, and how she was going to be living the high life from now on. Even in your time, life still isn't fair. Apparently he'd proposed before they'd even met. And last I heard, she'd bought herself a first-class one-way ticket to join him in some exotic place called... what was it? Nigeria? Some people have all the luck.
Don't worry. Something tells me she's going to get what she deserves.
Well, you are the Oracle, so I suppose I'll take your word for it. Huh. I feel better already. Thank you.
It was good to see you again, Yulia.
You too. If you're ever in London, let me know. We can go to bars and drink wine and listen to the stories of the 9 million people who live there.
I'll take you up on that.
I hope so.
Next we have Lucrezia. Pronunciation of these names is...
You're here. It's nice to finally meet you.
Hey, Lucrezia.
Hello.
Lucretia? It can't be Lucretia. That sounds disgusting.
Lucy is fine. I'm making an effort to blend in, as you can see. We are all trying to keep a low profile. If the world knew we died 2,000 years ago and were suddenly brought back to life 12 months ago, they'd never leave us alone.
Pretty much.
Speaking of which, I wanted to say thank you in person. I'd say the gods smile on you, but I hear you drove the last of them off. So
what are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm studying to get into medical school. As much as I resented the responsibility of keeping everyone in the city alive, when it ended, I realized I missed it. So I guess I'll just keep saving the world, if begrudgingly, one patient at a time.
It was good to see you, Lucy.
You too. Don't be a stranger.
Who do we have on this side? Ah, that's who that is.
Hey.
Hi there, I'm HoReUS.
Hi, HoReUS.
I understand we have you to thank for giving us a second chance at life, and reuniting Scintilla with us as well. So, Thank you.
Though I can guess, I still feel encouraged to ask what you're doing with yourself these days.
I'm living up north and studying in the military academy in Modena. I'm going to be an officer one day. The world's changed a lot. But some things stay the same. Would you believe we're still studying military tactics from my time? Alexander the Great, Caesar, Hannibal Barca. Still, I have to keep challenging myself to let go of old ways of thinking and embrace the new. As Seneca wrote, the ones who pioneered our paths aren't our masters, but our guides.
I'm sorry you never got to see your girl again.
Ah, you remembered that. Thank you. I grieved for a time, but that's done. In the words of Epictetus, as those who rode behind triumphant generals remind them they are mortal, remind yourself your precious one isn't one of your possessions, but something given for now, not forever.
Well said.
Thanks.
Whatever happened to your buddy Domitius?
He's not my... Oh, I see what you did there. Good one. He had more trouble adapting than most. He got himself disqualified from the UFC, so he started some kind of underground blood sport tournament, like we had in Rome.
Of course he did.
Suppose it appealed to people's baser instincts. And they say he made some good coin, killing a bunch of men like that. But his luck finally ran out, and his life along with it. You know what they say. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
That's a shame.
Perhaps.
It was good to see you again, Horatius.
And you. Farewell.
This
I take it you're the Oracle.
This is
Thanks for
Cynthia's other daughter. It's decent to see you again, Cynthia.
Actually, I changed my name to Cynthia. I didn't want to be associated with Centius after what happened. I'm not sure if you heard, but after you drove Pluto off, Proserpina emerged from the Great Temple. She knew right away what none of us had figured out about that psychopath. He'd been keeping my little sister locked up in the upper cistern all that time. But he's been dealt with. He's... you know what? The important thing is, we'll never see him again.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
Anything I want. I'm a woman of means in a vast new world.
Of course you
I can
are.
go wherever and do whatever I please. Of course, I mostly just stay in my villa and have my servant Alexa summon things for me, because it's just awful out there. Barbarians everywhere.
I have to know what happened to Centius. I just have to.
He's still there, all alone. The last golden statue in the underworld. Trapped in a metal shell, slowly losing his mind until the end of time. Eternal torment. Just what he deserves, if you ask me.
Good. I'm going to let you all figure out why exactly that's good. I mean, he did keep his daughter locked up in a cistern because she found the way out and she wanted to get out, but he said, nah. It was fine seeing you again, Cynthia.
You too. See you around.
Not even once. Not if I can help it.
Hello.
Greetings, my friend. It is a sincere pleasure to see you once again.
Hey, good to see you too, Georgius.
I am told we have you to thank for freeing us from Hades, and for that, I am most grateful.
So what are you doing with yourself these days?
I am reacquainting myself with Greece. It has changed so much over the last 2,000 years, I barely recognize it. This is at once heartbreaking and thrilling. Perhaps
At least it's not on fire.
once I have seen all of this new Greece and sampled
Well, that
the
was
delights,
Rome. Never
I will
mind.
settle down in Santorini in a villa overlooking the Azure Aegean Sea. I hope you will join me there and regale me with the story of how you faced off against the fearsome god of the underworld and won.
I see Dacius over there. You know what? Consider me there, Georgius. It was good to see you again.
You too, my friend.
Hey there, Fabia.
You're the one we've been waiting for. I'm Fabia.
Hi, Fabia.
I wanted to say thanks for sending WeArEuS to save my life. I don't know how you knew, but I would have been crushed by that shrine for sure.
You're welcome.
I'm just so happy to be here with you and everyone together again, even if it's just for one more night.
So what are you doing with yourself?
Well, it's not like I have to work with all the silver Karen gave me, so I just do what makes me happy. Mostly that means baking for my friends and looking at memes while binging TV shows in yoga pants. What a time to be alive.
I'm glad you're happy.
Thank you. I really am.
It was good to see you again.
You too.
Ah, the hermit. Right.
I take it you're the oracle everybody's talking about. It's a pleasure to finally meet you.
I'm pretty sure we met in the same... Didn't we meet in the same... No, we got screwed over by Dooley at the end there. Yes, we've met before, though I wouldn't expect you to remember it.
We have. I'm sorry, I don't remember. In any case, I'm Philip. I never thought I'd leave that cave, let alone the city. And now I'm living in the 21st century. What a time to be alive. And it seems I have your catabasis to thank for it.
Catabasis, that is a new one. So what are you up to?
I'm working as a consultant to the Faculty of Classics at Cambridge University, helping fill the odd gap in their knowledge. Not that I need the money, but I do love being around enlightened minds again.
It was good to see you again, Philip.
My sincere thanks once again.
And of course, there's Dacius. Of course he removed it and just...
Some soiree, innit?
Please keep off the furniture, and naturally, he does anything but.
Ah, hello at last. You must be the oracle I've heard so much about. I'm Dacius.
Hi, Dacius.
Listen, I wanted to express my sincere appreciation for what you did. If it wasn't for you, I'd never been able to sell all those useless old relics I accumulated. Whatever you did in that temple made me a very wealthy man. Thank you.
As scummy as you may be, I don't actually dislike you. Well, I don't hate you. There's a little bit of dislike in there, though. Nevertheless, you are welcome.
Most gracious of you.
So what are you up to nowadays?
I took the money I made from selling my trinkets and started investing in the stock market. That's where the real money is now. In fact, I was hoping to ask your advice, you being the oracle and future seer and all that, on which stocks I should invest in next. I can't decide between fossil fuels, tobacco, gambling and arms. What would you recommend?
I can't really see the future, you know?
Oh, don't be like that. You can tell your old pal Dacius. I won't take no for an answer.
DVD rentals have a bright future, you know?
Oh, of course, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'll go home and buy up as much stock as I can tonight. I'm going to make a bloody fortune.
I'll be going now. You enjoy all that hard-won cash from your investments.
Of course, don't let me keep you. Thanks again for the tips, my friend.
Good evening.
Ah, Livia.
Oh, hello. It's lovely to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Nice to see you too, Octavia.
I'm thankful that you're here. I was sure the person who drove off the last pagan god would have more important things to do than visit the likes of us. But thank you for coming and for saving our lives. What you did was extraordinary, and I'll never forget it.
So what are you up to these days?
I'm living in Rome again, in a charming little flat by the Tiber, not far from my old place. Oh, and I'm training to be a crisis counselor. After you sent WeArEuS to persuade Ulpius not to take his own life, I was inspired. I just want to spend the rest of my life helping people, like you helped him.
Actually sounds like a noble cause. Good on you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
It was good to see you again.
And you. Oh, and I hope this isn't too forward, but some of us are going out for a drink after this, if you'd like to join us.
You know what? I am a little parched.
Wonderful. I'll see you soon.
We meet again.
Indeed we do. Good to see you looking well, Olivia.
Thank you for your kind words and for liberating us all. In all the time I was in the underworld, I never once imagined that I might end up in a place so much like Elysium.
So what are you up to these days?
I'm recovering. Octavia was kind enough to let me stay with her for a while, at least until I'm well enough to be independent again.
This one's a little weird. I'm gonna go ahead and skip that. It was good to see you again, Livia.
And you. Farewell, friend.
Ah, Kabosh, I was wondering about you.
It is an honor to finally meet you, Oracle.
Thanks, Kabosh.
You know my name?
Naturally.
Oh, of course. You are an Oracle. You know many things. I too would like to offer my thanks for releasing us from that place and for your role in bringing us here. This world is truly wondrous.
So what are you up to these days?
For a time, I returned to Alexandria, but they have no need of another fisherman, and I came to see there is nothing for me there. Instead, I have decided to follow the custom of your youths and backpack the world. It is a great adventure, and I have met many people from many cultures. I spent the first 25 years of my life avoiding the 42 sins that would deny me access to the afterlife. Now, I think it is time I had some fun.
I think you earned it.
Indeed.
It was good to see you again, Kabosh.
Thank you, Oracle.
Let's see who we have. Yeah, I don't recognize any of these people from the side. Ah, Scintilla and Ulpius. I recognize these two.
Hello there.
Hi, Scintilla.
Oh, I go by Gabriella now. I didn't want to be reminded of that monster every time I heard my own name.
Understandable.
You didn't hear? My adoptive father, Sentius, locked me up in the upper cistern to stop me from escaping. After you drove Pluto off, Proserpina came and released me, and that monster got what was coming to him.
It sounds like he got what he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, on that previous loop, we hadn't actually gone into the cistern and interacted with her because since Sentius was actually still awake, his role in that conversation or in our interaction with her would have triggered, and he would have come to interrupt us, and that would pretty much have been that. There would have been some good information for you guys to have, but I'm going to let you all deal with that yourselves, or, go search it up on someone else's videos. So, what are you up to nowadays, Gabriella?
I'm living with WeArEuS on a little vineyard in Umbria. It's even more wonderful
Look at
than
this
I dreamed
dork
it
in the
would be.
back.
I'm so grateful to you for making sure he's still with us. If you're ever passing through the region, I hope you'll come and visit us. You can try some of our very own wine.
I might just do that. It was good to see you again, Gabriella.
Thanks. You too.
And WeArEuS, my good boy. I meant to say good man. I don't know why I said boy.
I'm WeArEuS.
Good to see you too, WeArEuS.
I understand I have you to thank for sending WeArEuS to save my life. The way you just showed up out of the blue and stopped me from making a terrible mistake. I'll be forever in your debt.
Well, it's best to go ahead and ask him what he's doing, even though I believe Gabriella filled us in on that little bit.
I'm living with Gabriella in Umbria. We finally bought the little vineyard we always dreamed of. It'll be a little while before we know what we're doing, but every day I look at her and this extraordinary new world with all its beauty, and I think, what if I'd given up hope? And missed out on all of this. So we're living each day to the fullest. And we end them all the same way. Sitting together on our terrace with a glass of our wine, which the locals say is almost drinkable now, and watching the sunset over the rolling hillside. And I couldn't be happier.
I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you.
It was good to see you.
You too.
Let's see. Let's go with Virgil.
It's so nice to finally meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Good to see you, Virgil. Notice that it's spelled differently here from how it is here. I don't know why. I don't really care. I just wanted to make sure you couldn't unsee it.
I wanted to thank you personally for getting us out of there. And for helping Rufus come to terms with himself. He may come off a little gruff, but once you get past that, he's a lovely fellow.
I'm sure. So what are you two up to these days?
I'm studying to be an architect again, and living with Rufus in our beautiful flat in Rotterdam. Just down the river from Nijmegen, where I grew up. Of course, it's improved immensely since I was there last. Gleaming futuristic buildings and clean streets, full of educated, accepting people. You natives of the 21st century have no idea how fortunate you are.
It was good to see you again.
You too. If you're ever in the Netherlands, we'd love to show you around. It's the least we could do.
I might just take you up on that. And Rufus.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you too, Rufus.
I go by Rufus now.
Of course you do.
New start, new name. Oh, and thanks, by the way, for what you did. Sorry, I'm no good with the mushy stuff.
Naturally. So it turns out you were right. The statues really were watching us.
Huh. Good to know. Anyway, it was good practice for the new world.
Right?
Security cameras and smartphones everywhere. Got to stay vigilant.
That is unfortunately true. So what are you up to these days?
I live with Virgil in Rotterdam, not far from where he grew up. It's very modern. Destroyed in the war, and it rebuilt itself. Good place for a fresh start. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with my life yet. One adjustment at a time.
It was good to see you again, Rufus.
You too. Look us up next time you're in the Netherlands. We're grateful.
I was expecting to see Proserpina around here.
There you are. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, there's one more person I wanted to introduce you to.
Ah.
I think you know her.
Sorry if I frightened you. Just a little joke I've been saving for a long, long time.
I recognize that voice.
Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Proserpina, former goddess of the cycle of life and renewal, and now a regular mortal. I wanted to meet you in person, and thank you for freeing all these people, and me. I hate to think what would have happened to us without your intervention.
So, you created the time loop.
I did. I may have given up my immortality, but I still retain my gifts as the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal. After witnessing Pluto punish countless poor souls over thousands of years, I knew this generation, the final wave, would not survive. So I tried to give them a way to buy more time. A second chance. Rather, as many second chances as they needed to avoid his wrath.
What became of Pluto?
I don't know what happened to him. I haven't heard from him, and I rather hope it stays that way.
What about Karen?
Oh, she inherited dominion over the underworld. Last time we spoke, she was working on a new world of some kind. She wouldn't say what it was, but I'd be surprised if you don't run into her again. I imagine we all will, one day.
I don't understand why this would even be a question. We literally we knew it was her for the longest time, but I want to see what they might have to say behind this question. Or what the response is.
Indeed. Suffice it to say that while Pluto was controlling the eyes and ears of each golden statue, I was able to control their tongues and whisper to you when he was distracted. I am sorry my messages were so cryptic. There were only ever brief windows in which I could speak to you without being detected.
You did what you could, and I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you again, Proserpina.
And you. Although it feels like I've known you forever.
There wasn't that many
last
loops.
thing. Do you remember all those golden statues scattered throughout the city?
Yeah.
Good. Because they remember you. Well done, my friend. Of all the heroes who ever journeyed to the underworld in your time, none came close to achieving what I did. Hercules, Orpheus, Theseus, and Aeneas would be proud.
Ending 4 of 4. I've seen them all. I could have sworn I saw 5, but maybe that's just... Anyway. We've seen them all. I've seen them all. And this is easily the best of them all. Although the first one is... Ooh, the first one is satisfying. While I am curious to see if there's some sort of a after credit scene, that's what That's what it's called. Well, I'm curious to see that. I would also, frankly, like to end the video as soon as possible. We've just breached 2 hours, and I'd like to keep it as short as possible. So, I enjoyed myself. I'm utterly frustrated with its performance on my PC, but that's hardly a me problem, so I can only be so upset, you know? Now, the game itself, the story was really well done. The gameplay, all of it. The environment, what of it I could see when it wasn't loading in because of the low settings I have. Beautiful. And had I been able to play it on its maximum settings, it would have been wondrous. But I had to make some sacrifices in order to be able to even record it. That's the nature of the game. Nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoy yourselves and everything you've seen here since episode 1, if you've been with us since the first episode. It's been fun. Hey, and we beat it within 10 loops. I probably could have done it within 5, but well, we still didn't know as much as we do now. Well, as we did when we started. We didn't know enough to get it done in 5. Still, I did enjoy this. Games like this are too rare, and I wish that wasn't the case. Ones where it's all about the story and not about trying to preach anything. It's just about making a good story and a good game. And it's a shame that it's become so rare. But in its rarity, we end up with gems like this that we can't help but appreciate. Hopefully you guys feel the same way, and again, I hope you have enjoyed yourselves. I don't know what is going to replace this. I'll probably be uploading the Vigilant mod back to back now, until we find something else. And who knows what it might be. If you've enjoyed my commentary or just anything, I encourage you to check out some of my other videos. There are a lot of them, and you may find something that interests you. And so with all that said, we will see you next time.